All right, we are back with another episode of Reliance Real Estate Radio.
Whoop whoop.
Today we are talking about failing forward because last week we talked about that it's all your fault and you have to own your mistakes, right?
I think that's a good segue
And I
into
think
our podcast today.
if you own your mistakes and learn from them, right?
Yeah,
That you should be
I think they
failing
both
forward.
are. Yeah,
What does Gary Keller say? Fail forward, fail often, and fail as fast as you can, or something like that.
something like that. Yeah, fail often, fail fast, and fail forward. Yeah, something like that. Close.
I just know, like, I was taught, like, you have to achieve your highest potential, I guess you must learn how to fail forward, meaning you can't let failures set you back, right? You can't use it as a setback or um, dwell on it too much, but you have to dwell on it just long enough to learn from it, right?
Yeah, I think that's well said. I think in our business, we've done plenty of that and we learned from it. That's when we implemented new systems, new models, things like that to fix or address anything that, we failed at. And now we've grown a lot. And I think a lot of people even use some of our systems and models because of it.
Right. A lot of times starting a business out, and this goes for everybody, you think like you have to recreate the wheel. And you end up sometimes, or a lot of the times, having some small failures, some mid-sized failures, and even some big failures. I mean, I think it's something like 83% or 85% of all businesses fail within the first, I think it's 3 to 5 years or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not, it's really just finding that system or model that's already built and then just tailoring it to yourself and then improving upon it. And you're going
Mm-hmm.
to have those small failures, but if you let them set you back and you're not grasping onto the right system or model, like, you could have failure. And then what do you
Yeah.
do with that once you fail, right?
Right. Well, I think there's two things that you could do is one, you fail and you give up, or you could take that failure and um, implement it in a way that helps you succeed in the future. Just because one failure doesn't mean it stops everything at a halt, right?
Right. I mean, the same goes for like succeeding. I've heard of people that have been like, yeah, man, I'm going to write a book. And they're like, wow, that's super cool. You can totally do it. And then that's like the self-fulfilling success. And they, just because now been told they could do it, they stop and they don't do it.
Mm-hmm.
It kind of like freezes or paralyzes them into the fact that that guy believes in me, but what if I fail? You know?
Yeah.
So the same thing is like, if you do fail, don't be a victim, like you were just saying. Don't be afraid, accept that you're most likely going to have them, right?
Yeah.
And turn those mistakes into stepping stones. Like, I failed. Now here's my stepping stone. Here's what I learned. And now that won't happen again. And we can move on to the next failure. Basically, um, you know,
I think that's a great way to approach it, especially if you're starting a business or um, doing a task or anything, trying to grow sales. I mean, you might hear a new way to grow your sales and you want to try it. And if you go with the expectation that, hey, I might not succeed the first time, and learn from any mistakes that you have, and just make it even better. Like, oh, that didn't work. Okay, no big deal. What is working, and let's work on that.
yeah, the fear of failure is just a construct of your mind, really. Um, you build it up so much that you become fearful of actually doing the task at hand, where as if you just did it, it's not that hard. Like, we do it, we get on the phones and we call people that don't necessarily want to talk to us, but we've talked to them to the point where they were like, you make sense. And we go out and go on an appointment, and it ends up being the best thing that ever happened. I'm not saying all of them turn out that way. There's some times where they hang the phone up on us.
Yeah.
Rejection is huge in what we do as part of what. And if we weren't able to get past that fear or that limiting belief or that call bias, like, we wouldn't be able to do the production that we do in the way that we do it, right?
Yeah. And I think also
We'll do
failing
it a
forward
different
could
way.
also be practice. Because you bring up a good point. When we make phone calls, we have to handle objections, uh, and we do it daily when we practice, and we tell each other, "Okay, I did this yesterday. That didn't work. How would you handle it?" So, I mean, if you're failing at something, talk to somebody who may have done it. Just like you were saying too, it's like you don't have to reinvent the wheel. And that's just one example that Joe and I go through as failing forward. It's, I guess, a simple failing forward, and there's all different avenues of that.
I think you touched on something there too. Is did you, if you look back at the task that you failed at, was it just because you weren't um, educated enough, or that you haven't done it enough times to build up that repetition and build up that focus muscle and build up your knowledge base? Like, yeah, the first time I cut my front lawn or my lawn for my dad and my mom when I lived at home, I probably did a really crappy job. you
Yeah.
know, but
Yep.
now I know exactly what to do when I cut the lawn or whatever it may be, like that math problem, that business solution that you're trying to figure out, that issue with your coworker, like because you've never done it or you haven't done it enough, like you need to build those muscles. So of course you're going to have small failures or it's not going to turn out the way you want it.
Hmm.
But that doesn't mean it can't the next time, you know.
Yeah. I mean, just also don't let it, because Joe brought up the fear of failing. Um, and it is a mindset, and you just got to get over that mindset. When I was first coached in the beginning by Scott Allen, I remember him telling me, like, just like, honestly, just do it. Like, you want to do an open house, but you're not quite sure how to like perform it. Just schedule one, do it, and learn from it. And then also, you also brought up like learning and education. I'm reading a book called it's The Lifestyle Investor by Justin Donald, and he started. He had he worked in a job that had nothing to do with investing. So he spent, I think he said, over $1 million throughout his lifetime, not like right up front, on just education alone, which now helps him when because he says that he's failed a few times, right, in his investing, and then educates himself on it.
Mhm.
So he grows from it. And
Right.
then the next time he invests in a certain opportunity that was similar to the one that he failed at, he now knows what to do better.
Yeah, there's some risk there, and he does an assessment, and now he knows to either defer from that or make a better decision, right?
Yeah.
Informed,
Education,
right?
mindset, and doing it is going to help you succeed. So, and you're right. Don't be afraid to fail, because it's going to help you grow if
Mhm.
that's the mindset that you have.
Right. And the last thing that I think you brought up, and it goes with, I always try to pick a quote to go with each one of these, just because I try to look at those daily. Um, you brought up and I brought up the mindset, but it's really a response from you internalizing that failure, right? And whether or not you're going to move forward from it or stay there or look to the past or dwell or not learn from it, right? And move into something different. But this one's by John C. Maxwell. And he said the difference between average people and achieving people is their perception and response to failure. And I thought that was huge when I came across that the other day, and I was like, wow, so it's your response to it. So you can respond to fail forward, or you can continue to dwell on it or let it become a limiting belief and move on to something else and not take that path because there's a roadblock there because you failed once, you know.
Hmm. Right.
So that's all I have. Fail forward.
Yeah. I think, yeah, exactly. And my takeaway from our talk is just don't be afraid to fail.
Okay. All right.
Love it.
If you got some value, make sure you share this. We are episode 44, so we're trying to bring it consistently to you guys, just so you have a little bit of motivation or self-talk or something that helps get you through the day and it teaches you a little bit of something. We're trying to bring value.
Absolutely.